Welcome home, brave heroes. I'm Ash, this is HeroQuest, and I think it's high time once again we re-explored Etsy for HeroQuest. And maybe we'll use a couple of other dungeon crawling game terms as well, but I think HeroQuest is where it's going to be at. That's the term that seems to be trending for a lot of folks. That's the term that seems to be what gets the most hits, especially as people continue to look for proxies for their furniture, for their different bad guys, for their different homebrew heroes, for their different 3D sceneries, doors, and the like. So let's delve into HeroQuest on Etsy Part 2. Now, for those of you who missed the first HeroQuest on Etsy video, that's not exactly what the video is called, but it is one of the earliest videos on the HeroQuest channel. And in that video, we do look at quite a few things on this platform, and I'll try not to probably look at those in depth again this time. But if I do accidentally, no harm, no foul. Let's get started. HeroQuest, stylized with the capital H and capital Q. It's just the way I like it. There we go. I see something that I like right off the bat. This is from Grip Mats. This is the 36-inch by 29-inch HeroQuest wide or narrow corridor grip mat, perfect for epic game nights of fun. Are there any other kinds? As you can see, this actually takes the standard configuration and changes it up quite a bit. We've got double corridors all around the edge of the board. We also have double corridors in the 4 paths leading to the center of the board. It's not just the top and bottom, but also the left and right sides as well. So we have very little opportunity for thin, single wide corridor combat just around the central room, which by virtue of these corridor tile changes has also been made into a perfect square. I've only got one issue with doing the board like this, and it's essentially that every single quest will have to be translated a little bit in some way. Not like a whole lot of translation. It's kind of like taking a page of lingo spoken by a Texan in their native Texan dialect, and then showing it to an Australian and saying, well, this is English, this is what you speak. We're going to have to account for the double wideness of the corridors. Anywhere that was blocked off with a single rock will now have to be blocked off with 2 rocks. These are not really minor complaints even, these are just observations that I'm making. You're gonna have to make sure that you have the appropriate things in place to block off hero travel. And that's just if you're converting any of the existing quests to be able to use a double wide corridor board like this. There are some shots of some blocks just kind of like in the middle of the corridors. I think that's done for photographic effect, photogenic look. I don't think that that's done to show how this would be done. And then they are showing off the actual sizes of the tiles here. They're actually a little bit more than the standard inch, a little bit more than the standard inch and 1/16 of the contemporary HeroQuest board. So that's interesting. They're huge. Oh yeah, it does make sense now too. If you look at this 1-inch standard tile, it's going to have a little bit of a border when you place it into any of these slightly larger tiles. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. It comes down to your preference, really. But that's the first thing that we've looked at, and doubtless they have a lot of other mat configurations too, a lot of other styles. Let's check it out. Yeah, it looks like they've got one for Twilight Imperium, Eclipse, Second Dawn, one based on the Frozen Horror. It's kind of it for HeroQuest. The rest of these seem to be based on other things like, ooh, HeroScape. Now, this is something I can get behind. Yeah, check that out. This saves you so many HeroScape tiles. Just bam, immediate swampland. You have an entire map on which to play your HeroScape scenarios now. Love that. Love that, and perfectly compatible, it seems, with the HeroScape tiles. Looks like there's not any tile drift or anything like that, so I really respect that. Awesome job on that. So this is what I was hoping I would find. Stuff that's HeroQuest adjacent, in that it might have been produced around the same time or by the same companies involved, the same sort of think tanks, and then might have the word hero in it or quest. Back to the search. That was the very first search result, so we're already doing fantastic. Dungeon blocks, ultimate dungeon tiles. What have we here? Ultimate dungeon pre-built sets. You know what? I like this. I like something about this. I'm not quite sure what. Dungeon maze 6x9, 1 level, 54 blocks, 6 3x3 grids. What do you mean? What is going on? How does this work? 6x9 tiles. 54 blocks altogether. So these are individual blocks because 6 times 9 is 54. And you get 6 3x3 grids, which of course accounts for the 54 blocks altogether. This is pre-built. Can you take it back apart? Basic dungeon, X-shaped, 9x9, 5 base grids, 41 tiles. I'm afraid I don't know exactly how this works from looking at the pictures. We might need to look at the descriptions. Select an option. The basic dungeon is $62.95 USD. The dungeon maze 6x9 is $86.65 USD. These are from Phoenix Fire Gaming. Oh, I love those wound counters. Oh, those are really nice. Oh, those are super nice. It'd be super easy to 3D print those and make them ourselves, but they are nice. Nice idea. I think I will have to do that. This is more of the Dungeon Blocks series. $1.25 plus. Looks like, yeah, each dungeon block costs the $1.25 plus, which a lot of these are like $1.38 or $2 or there's $2.50. Here are the level grids on which you would be placing these dungeon blocks. Interesting. Do you get them physically or do you get the 3D files? One thing's for sure, these are really interesting looking. Like, they're actually really pretty. They're really well done. I don't know if I'm looking at, I think I'm looking at 3D renders. I don't think I'm looking at any physical product here. If this was a physical product picture, it would be really high quality, representative of a really, really high quality product. Lost Cave example layouts. This is some of the stuff that you can do with these blocks. So they're extremely versatile, but my problem with them is it would take you a long, long time to craft each individual dungeon scenario. And then you wouldn't be able to really like save that layout. You'd have to completely disassemble it and put it all back together the next time you wanted to play it again. But these look so nice. I still don't know if these are just 3D files that you're purchasing individually so you can print them off yourself, or if you are purchasing physical media. Because if you're purchasing physical media, I could see somebody gladly spending hundreds of dollars to get hundreds of these tiles, that someone is me, in order to be able to make these scenarios and keep them kind of around if I need to. These are physical products. They're physical. You get them physically. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I like that. Right here's the confirmation if anybody needed to know. Materials PLA. No glue, no magnets, no open lock, just set up and play. Because of limitations to the Etsy listing tool, this set has been broken into multiple listings. This listing is for the first half of the Lost Cave of tiles. Each tile can be ordered individually by using this listing. All pieces come unpainted and be printed in brown filament. All parts printed with FDM printers. FDM printed items may arrive with some slight imperfections, visible layer lines, slight overhang, stringing, etc. This is completely normal and will not compromise the structural integrity or usability of the product. In most cases, a quick coat of paint will completely hide any imperfections. With that said, we carefully inspect all prints prior to shipping to ensure there are no significant issues. Well, I have to say, I love the concept. I mean, I absolutely love the concept. It would be so cool to see these mass printed with injection mold and sold that way for much cheaper on per unit if possible. That would be something. That would be really something special. I would love to be able to just throw this together or throw this together and then add like rooms as appropriate for a HeroQuest dungeon crawl. Moving on, we continue to see combat dice variants, modular dungeon walls, a set of 50 28mm, Dungeons and Dragons terrain, D&D terrain. Boy, if you only knew. I'm sure they know. I'm sure this is not anything like secret. Man, I love that. I love that scale. Look at how tiny everything is. Look at how they've used these pieces as windows. So we actually have windows in our dungeon. Can you imagine using windows in a HeroQuest dungeon? Like, nobody's done that. There's doors. People have used all kinds of ideas for different door homebrew, like, is the door trapped? Is the door going to slam behind you? Is it a magic portal door? Etc. But like windows, that adds a whole new layer. I'm not even being sarcastic or facetious at all. Like, there could be attacks that happen from outside into the dungeon to try to attack the heroes. Goblins with their meager bows and arrows. It could be implied that we're on a really tall tower. There's a dragon flying around the tower, breathing fire into it. And I think a lot of the dragons that we've seen in recent high-budget media have just destroyed towers entirely. But this could be a much smaller dragon, and it's mainly going to breathe fire into the windows and either light up an entire room or do an area of attack that's a perfect line here, only affecting the 3x3 grids that appear on the floor whenever the heroes enter a dungeon. Do you think the heroes ever question why, when they go into a dungeon, everything's gridded out? Why they feel compelled to take exactly like 3 steps forward and then stop in the center of the floor? No, I didn't think so. At any rate, I love the look of this stuff. I love that there's like this brown door on this gray stone frame. I'm a sucker for this sort of thing every single time. And then bam, walls. Now I don't like FDM layer lines. I'll just print something with my own Elegoo Mars 1. It's ancient, but it gets the job done for sure. But that's me being picky. I'm not at all suggesting that everybody is that picky. You have a lot of folks who'd be very happy to have dungeon pieces just like this and make this into something to do with their HeroQuest game, either overlaying on top of their board or setting it aside and making adventures off the traditional board. Now this is from Black Flag Resin. I don't remember looking at this. This is the HeroQuest upgrade pack. Now if we take a look, we can see exactly what this is pretty much at a glance as soon as we're looking at it. The upgrade pack is going to take all of the tiles that come with HeroQuest, all of those tiles that affect the gameplay board in some way, either by blocking things off or having pit traps laid down or having secret doors, and it's going to make them 3D so you can see things a lot better. That's one of the complaints that I find perfectly valid whenever people are laying tiles like the block tiles, single block, double block, or secret door tiles. Sometimes depending on the combination of elements around them, those tiles can kind of get lost in the noise, and it can be a little bit harder for some players to see them at a glance as easily as they could be seeing them. So stuff like this really works out well, and these are customizable. You can actually paint these. It looks like these were printed at an angle too, so the layer lines are going vertical instead of horizontal. I think that gives them quite a different feel, quite a different finish. Now, I don't know how I feel about the secret door taking up a tile, because this is not going to share a tile necessarily with anybody that wants to stand on it like a traditional secret door tile would. And I'm also not super sure what's up with this. I guess this is just customization for your dungeon, so you're able to set stuff out that has like this wall now with this window bar as you can see into a cell. Whereas that's not an existing thing in HeroQuest. You don't have any way to stop along a wall and see into another room unless there's a door there. But I mean, whatever the reason is for the design of these elements, they look fantastic. I really like them. I would use them in some way. Lots of pits here, and the bottoms of the pits, I would have to criticize and say, due to the way these were printed, they look very fluid. So these look like they could be pits full of acid or blood or something. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but the pits in HeroQuest are meant to be fallen into, and then while the hero's down there, they can actually search them like rooms, which should imply that they're pretty empty or at least safe enough for the hero to kind of explore. Then the piles of falling rock, I actually really like the idea that these are 3D. Different styles for different folks, but good on Black Flag Resin. Just to take a look at some of the other stuff they've got, looks like they've got a set of HeroQuest stairs. Love that. You can't place the heroes on these stairs. I think these steps are way too small. It looks like this seller is in the UK for anybody who might find that information useful or really helpful. I really like their crystal set of 10 as well. They're on hexagonal bases. Not sure what game system that should be going to. Perhaps that is a HeroScape idea. We've got treasure chests, the crates bundle, a barrels set, lots of dungeon dressing. We have tables and chairs. Really enjoy seeing more dungeon dressing, especially more tables of this variety and of this variety. I like these two tables in dungeons. This is the Return of the Witchlord HeroQuest expansion, Dreaming in 3D print. This is part of the Dragon's Rest in that it's a licensed printer for the Dragon's Rest. I'm not quite sure exactly what all is included with this. This price point though, $349 USD. That's for the painted version, the unpainted being sold out as of the time of this video. I'm not quite sure if it's the entire board or if we're just getting this centerpiece. I would hope that it's the entire board worth of 3D printed goodness. Walls, floor tiles, dressings, all of this stuff looks like it's part of this total package. Look at the grate in the floor. That is amazing. Really cool stuff. Be aware, clip and magnet assembly will be required. Looming in the center of the board is a new boss room where your adventurers come upon a mammoth skull throne room. The grate above the skull floor has trapdoors, so adventurers be warned. I would say that this is removable because the campaign Return of the Witchlord makes use of the center room without it being the throne room for the Witchlord as well in some quests. So I found a must-have. It's the Dungeon Crawler Map Coaster set. Come on. That's a must-have. Don't even deny. You have to have drink coasters with dungeon crawl patterns on them. Come on, that's a no-brainer. Set of 9, that's a no-brainer. Even if you don't use these as drink coasters, you can throw these together and have dungeons on the go. Beautiful, beautifully done. I love that. It shows up when I search HeroQuest, so I'm saying, can it HeroQuest? Yes, absolutely. As the foremost authority on whether a thing can or cannot HeroQuest, I deem this to be HeroQuestable. Mountain View 3D has HeroQuest alternate pose and gender hero set classic scale custom prints. Love that very much. Looks like we've got the alternate poses from the boxes for our main 4 heroes, as well as gender variants. Female barbarian, female dwarf, female wizard, and I think that this would be the female elf. Really love the dynamic and heroic poses that the heroes have based on Les Edwards' artwork of the main box. A good look at the new sculpts up against their classic counterparts, and man, they look fantastic. I do think it's kind of funny how the new dwarf is taller than the old dwarf. Like, what are we doing here? This is height erasure. The tall lady barbarian is slightly taller than the male counterpart. Everybody's a little bit taller than their classic counterparts, but it also looks like they're on slightly extended bases. Their bases are just a little bit higher. They've got that bevel to them. So that's, you could account a little bit of the height difference for that, but come on, this height difference is clearly different. I know the elf is kind of stooping here, but if he stood up to his full height and he was on the same size base, she would be just a little bit taller. And here are some decorative bases. They look fantastic. Love them. Just love them. Great job. What else do you do? They've only gone and made a 6-inch Mentor figurine. All right, that's nuts. That's crazy. Is this a must-have for the HeroQuest fan in your life? $45 USD. Mountain View 3D is in the US, for those who need to know. They've also got a Blood Bowl weather control station. I don't know how this is incorporated into the game. That was just all on the first page. Well, I did kind of meander a bit, but still. This is from Lost Maps Games. This is $48.98 USD. This is a gaming mat. I struggle to find the size. Usually that's right in the title. This is advertised to be a town for HeroQuest. This is a lovely interpretation of a town. We've got 2 different sections. We've got like an outset here. We've got a blacksmith's forge area. We've got a room, a couple of rooms over here, and then a bridge that crosses over a precarious moat. And then we have castle walls, and in the courtyard of the castle, we have all kinds of different rooms that could be used for all kinds of different purposes. We can also scale up these steps to get to the top side of the castle, ramparts and towers, and look out over the town or across the way. This can make for some really interesting wargaming scenarios, or quests wherein the heroes have to defend a castle from an onslaught, an invasion attempt by Zargon and a horde of monsters. You don't need me to tell you that, you already know, but there's also a few other maps here I'd like to see in more detail. Yeah, okay, here's one of the ones I wanted to see. This separates the board again into 4 quadrants, but there are significant implications with these quadrants. First of all, the entire center of the board vertically has been split in twain, and there is a wide divide between the left and right sides, and the only way to cross is this center portion. There are no more corridors leading up and down from this point. It is implied that, well, the implication's not there. Whatever quest you build on this is going to have to take place outdoors for sure. You have a giant statue kind of guarding the upper left quadrant's northeast room. You have a ship that was caught in whatever sort of calamity occurred along this creek. You have this giant man-made disc that has been placed for use as a bridge, ritual landmark, and something indeed seems to be active here. There's a lot of detail on this map. There is a lot of art. I'd be very happy to use this in my campaign, but importantly, the right side of the map is truncated. It basically looks like they had to take that real estate cost from the expansion of the center and push all of the rightmost rooms aside, so you are actually left with far fewer rooms. Well, I say far fewer, I guess you're really just missing out on like 4 or 5 rooms altogether. Really interesting room configuration with this one. I like it a lot. This one's called Before We Freeze, but I don't know that you'll find this map by using that search term because it's nowhere here in the title. Run away, run for your life. Now this one's super interesting. Yeah, this is a little bit more limiting because there's a lot more space we can't travel due to the slime slash acid slash wastewater aqueducts. But I really like the layout of the board. We've got a lot of small rooms kind of littered about. If this was on just a sort of vague colored squares that didn't indicate exactly where it was, you could easily take this idea and use it for an outdoor board as well, this configuration of rooms and walkways and passages. If you just took away the context, this could be outdoor, it could be town, it could be forest. Yeah, but this is really neat. I like this a lot, actually. And then here you would come around this giant pit to the stairs and then descend the stairs into this lower part of the map, which does not seem to be accessible otherwise, except for, of course, if you wanted to say that your heroes could fall into it or jump into it. That's a cool map. That's a cool map. Lost in the Jungle. This is going to have to be the last one I look at, but this is the first example I've seen of a map that looks like a one-to-one recreation of the HeroQuest room configuration. Indeed, it doesn't look like there are any discrepancies whatsoever. Every single tile is accounted for here. Every single room is accounted for, except for this open room in the center. It looks like the walls are actually gone from the right side and much of the top and some of the lower. So other than that, all of your stuff is right here. Really cool, kind of noisy. It might be hard to see a lot of the details of like the dungeon components on there. And of course you wouldn't be able to use a lot of your like dungeon furniture and stuff as casually as you would as if it were in the dungeon. So you might need to have some new dungeon dressings for this stuff. This map is called Hug Me Gently. Come on. Oh, I like this. We are just disrespecting the grid. We're going to a new convention here. There's new expectations. This is wild. This is absolutely nuts. We have kind of an islet, which acts as a cemetery. We've got this mausoleum. We've got tombs just scattered about. And one of them is actually in the process of being exhumed. And then we've got this tower. There's an active kraken kind of hanging around. I don't want the kraken in every single quest that I use this for, so it's too bad that this has to be a permanent part of the scenery. Maybe if it was just the tentacles under the water, something to imply, and then I could use tentacle 3D prints or something if I wanted to make it part of the actual quest actively. But I really like how the tiles are set up here. I do like the room configurations. I like that a lot of this is outdoor. We have a lot of line of sight here, though. And I typically think HeroQuest should stay away from line of sight, but I don't. Not stay away from, but like stay away from where half the board is in your line of sight. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that. It just takes it out of the dungeon. So, and you know, they don't all have to be in dungeons anyway, but you got to be careful with stuff like that because it takes the ideas a little bit away from the home brewer, the person who wants to make the content with the tools that you provide. So all in all, Lost Maps Games, really cool stuff, and you'd get a physical product in the mail. I'll have to do some more research into their stuff and see if I like their reviews. They have a lot of reviews. Well, 37 reviews, positive, 4.5 stars. That's good. That's good. I like the HeroQuest door organizer for the 1989 version. That's cool. That's cool. And highly necessary. And we've got the usual suspects, the Felder's Foam, the named boss characters. You know, I've never liked the idea of providing unique sculpts for the named bosses. I really like the idea of providing a unique sculpt that's just a little bit different than the other sculpts and then kind of giving it a generic name, and then it can stand in for all kinds of bosses. That, to me, feels much easier to play around with in terms of homebrew. Oh, Flashhammer Creative Studios is on here. This is the Advanced Armory. Interesting. I've already got a video on this stuff, but I had no idea they had a presence on Etsy. This is the Advanced Armory Standard 14 Hero Bundle. Classic battle dice. Somebody's actually brave enough to use original art for them. That's cool. I respect that. I like that they're not just ripping off the existing art. Interesting. And the Pumpkin King Ultra Gold Foil Promo. We've come full circle. 5 HeroQuest doors. Open. This is from Games Gear. What else do you have, Games Gear? Ooh, Dungeon Scenery Lamps. A custom fabric mat. This one's 4 foot by 2 foot. Card holders. I appreciate that. I really like the card holders. Oh, this isn't HeroQuest, but they've got Dungeons & Dragons board game mat and card holders. This is really handy to have if you play any of the WizKids, Dungeons & Dragons Adventure System board games, or even the ones that aren't WizKids. Really cool to have all your stuff here. This particular seller has a lot of stuff for a lot of different games. Baldur's Gate 3 A4 artwork posters. Ticket to Ride Europe train storage box. Come on, that's useful. That's useful. And that game was a lot of fun. All right, back we go. All right, it's time for us to go deep into this search. Let's go to page 8. And we've got Hero Shop 3D and Minis 3D and Meeple Forge. These are all tried and true, but I've seen them before. We need something new. We need something, whoa. Masters of Dungeon Quest RPG tabletop game by Zik Geek Guild, excuse me. What is this? 36 miniatures? Are these just the HeroQuest miniatures in a different flavor? Yep, that's what they are. Wow. So the HeroQuest furniture miniatures as well as the heroes and monsters, just in a different flavor. You've got wizard, elf, dwarf, barbarian, gargoyle, chaos sorcerer, chaos warrior. Then you've got, how about that? You've got a watcher. You've got basically a beholder. And then there's our furniture. There's our furniture. 3 extra furniture. This is where this stuff like this really shines. Supplies and barricade, dungeon dressings. Yes, give me that all day. Snake fountain. Yes. Fountains in our dungeons. Yes. We'll leave off on this amazing sculpt of the Frozen Horror, Masters of Dungeons Quest, Freezing Darkness, Primal, Collectibles, 3D printed resin 32mm HeroQuest miniature bust from Blue Dragon 3D Prints. He looks absolutely stunning. I love how he looks. He's great. And Blue Dragon 3D Prints has got a lot of stuff going on here, including evidently turtle chibis. Oh, never mind. I'm leaving off on Inora the Elf Princess. Oh, she's beautiful. The Mirror Maze. Ah, so this is your take on Missandriel. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Please comment anything you like down below. If there's something that you think I should pay more attention to on Etsy in particular, then please do suggest it. If you are a creator of any of the things in this video and you'd like to talk about a special spotlight video for your stuff, just shoot me a message. My business email is always listed in the description below. And if you know of a seller that I did not cover on here that really should get some attention or deserves a little bit more of a spotlight, please let me know. Did I say that already in just a different way? I think I did. All right, guys, thank you so much, as always, for your patronage and your kind attention. I will see you in the next one. Until then, have a great rest of your day. And for now, onward.